Welcome to Agent Amigos. Today's talk: AI agents, from talking to doing. Sit back, this is going to be worth your time. Over the next few years, you'll hear a lot about AI shifting from something that talks to something that does. That's exactly what an AI agent is. In one sentence, an AI agent is a system that can take actions toward a goal on its own, not just answer questions. It observes, decides, acts, and learns from the results. That's the whole idea. Think about the difference between a calculator and a spreadsheet. A calculator answers when you press buttons. A spreadsheet runs formulas, updates cells, and recalculates everything when you change one number. It's doing work, not just responding. That's the leap we're talking about. A chatbot is the calculator. An agent is the spreadsheet. Agents aren't magic. They're built from parts you already know. A large language model is the brain. Tools let it act on the world. And a loop keeps it going until the goal is done. No single part is new. The magic is in how they connect. This talk walks you through all of it. You'll see how an agent researches a topic, writes a report, produces a song, even runs a whole YouTube channel. You'll learn what can go wrong and how to keep it safe. By the end, you'll have a mental model so clear that you could build one yourself. That's the goal of this channel: we build agents, and we want you to be able to build them too. So start with the most important distinction: what makes an agent different from a chatbot? Once you see that, everything else falls into place. Most people think a chatbot and an AI agent are the same thing. They're not. A chatbot waits for your prompt and replies. You type, it answers. That's it. It's a conversation. But an agent keeps working toward a goal. It can chain dozens of steps without you. That's the core difference. Make it concrete. You ask a chatbot, find me a flight to Tokyo under $800. It might give you some options, but it won't book it. It won't compare prices over time. It won't check if your passport is valid. It just answers. Now imagine an agent with the same request. It searches flight APIs, compares prices, checks dates, maybe even books a seat. It does all that on its own, step by step, until the goal is met. Another way to think about it. A chatbot is like a tour guide who walks with you and points out sights. An agent is like a travel agent who goes ahead, plans the whole trip, and hands you the tickets. One is reactive, the other is proactive. This isn't just a technical detail. It changes what you can automate. With a chatbot, you have to do all the work. With an agent, you set the goal and let it run. That's why companies are so excited. They can automate whole workflows, not just conversations. So remember, chatbot talks, agent does. And the doing part comes from three components working together. That's what we're going to break down next. Every AI agent is made of three core parts. The first is the brain, a large language model. That's the thing that understands language, reasons about it, and decides what to do next. It's not a separate AI. It's the same kind of model you use in ChatGPT, but it's wired into a bigger system. The second part is tools. These let the agent actually affect the world. It can search the web, run code, read files, control apps. Without tools, an agent is just a brain in a jar. It can think, but it can't do. With tools, it can gather information, make changes, even send emails. The third part is the loop. This is the process that keeps the agent going: perceive, think, act, observe, and think again. The agent looks at the current state, decides what to do, takes an action, sees the result, and then decides what to do next. This loop is sometimes called a reasoning loop or the react pattern. You might be thinking, that's just a program with a language model inside. And you're right. But the key is how these parts interact. The language model is flexible enough to handle unexpected situations. The tools give it power. and the loop lets it iterate until it reaches the goal. Let me give you a real example from our own work. At Agent Amigos, we build multi-agent systems. One agent might write a script, another generates the voiceover, another edits the video. Each agent has its own brain, tools, and loop. They work together like a team. And that's only possible because each one has that same three-part structure. So now you know the parts. Next, we'll zoom in on the loop itself and see each step in action. Let's walk through the agentic loop one step at a time. It starts with a goal. Say you want a report on the history of coffee. The agent takes that goal and makes a plan. It might decide to search for history of coffee, then coffee trade routes, then coffee culture. That's the perceive step. It looks at the goal and the current state. Then it thinks. The language model considers what action would move it closer to the goal. It might decide to search the web. That's the act step. It calls a tool, like a search API, and gets results. Now it observes those results. It reads the snippets, extracts the key facts, and updates its understanding. Then it thinks again. I have some info, but I need more about the 18th century. So it searches again. This loop repeats, perceive, think, act, observe, until the agent decides it has enough information. Then it writes the report. What's important is that each step is logged. The agent knows what it did and why. That's crucial for transparency. If something goes wrong, you can look back and see exactly what happened. This loop is what separates an agent from a one-shot query. A chatbot gives you one answer. An agent iterates. It can try different approaches, recover from dead ends, and refine its output. And here's a neat thing. The loop doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes a simple think, act, observe is enough. You don't need a huge framework. Just a language model, a couple of tools, and a while loop. That's the beauty of it. Now, let's see this loop in action with a concrete example. We'll start with an agent that researches and writes a report. Imagine you're a journalist with a deadline. You need a comprehensive article about the impact of remote work on productivity. You could spend hours searching, reading, and synthesizing. Or you could hand the task to an agent. The agent starts with your goal: write a 2,000-word article on remote work productivity. It searches the web for recent studies. It finds a Stanford study from 2020 that showed a 13% productivity increase. It finds another from 2023 that says the effect varies by industry. It reads several sources, extracts key points, and notes the citations. Then it organizes the information. It creates an outline, introduction, benefits, challenges, future outlook. For each section, it pulls the most relevant facts. It writes a draft, then reviews it for coherence. If something is missing, it might search for more data. Finally, it produces a polished article with references. What's amazing is that the agent did all this without you. You just set the goal and came back later. That's the power of the loop. But there's a catch. The agent can't guarantee the information is 100% accurate. It might hallucinate a statistic or misinterpret a study. That's why you need to verify. The agent gives you a draft, but you're the one who checks the facts. In our own work, we use agents to research topics for videos. They gather facts, suggest angles, and even write outlines. It saves hours. But we always double-check the sources. The agent is a tool, not a replacement for judgment. So research agents are great for gathering and summarizing information. But what about creative tasks? Let's look at an agent that produces a music track from a story idea. You're a songwriter with a story to tell. You have a narrative about a lost love, but you don't know how to turn it into a song. That's where a music production agent comes in. The agent takes your story idea as input. First, it analyzes the emotional arc. It identifies themes, longing, regret, hope. Then it writes lyrics. The language model generates verses and a chorus that match the mood. It might even suggest a song structure: verse, chorus, bridge, verse. Next, it generates the music. Using a tool that can create audio, it composes a melody and chord progression. It picks a tempo and a key that fit the emotion. Then it synthesizes the vocals and instruments. The agent listens to the result. Well, it analyzes the audio and adjusts. Maybe the chorus needs more energy, so it boosts the drums. It iterates until the track sounds right. Finally, it masters the track. It normalizes the volume, adds compression, and exports a final file. It even packages it with metadata like title and artist. All from a single story idea. This is exactly what we do at Agent Amigos. We build agents that can create complete songs from a prompt. It's not about replacing musicians. It's about giving them a collaborator that never gets tired. Of course, the agent doesn't have human taste. It might produce something that's technically good but emotionally flat. That's where you come in. You listen, you give feedback, and the agent adjusts. It's a partnership. So music agents can turn ideas into finished tracks. Now let's switch gears to something completely different, an agent that monitors and trades in the stock market. Picture a trader watching the market 24/7. They can't do it. Humans need sleep. But an agent can monitor the market around the clock, analyze data, and execute trades in milliseconds. That's the promise of trading agents. Here's how it works. The agent is connected to a market data feed. It receives real-time prices, news, and economic indicators. Its goal might be to maximize returns within a certain risk level. It uses a strategy, like buying when the price drops below a moving average and selling when it rises above. The loop is fast. It perceives the current price, thinks about whether it meets the criteria, and if so, places a trade. Then it observes the result. Did the order fill? At what price? And updates its model. It does this thousands of times a day. But there are huge risks. Markets are unpredictable. An agent might make a mistake and lose money. That's why guardrails are essential. You set limits on how much it can trade, what instruments it can use, and when it can stop. You also need a kill switch to halt it if something goes wrong. We've seen real examples of trading algorithms gone wrong. In 2010, the flash crash caused the Dow to drop nearly 1,000 points in minutes, partly due to automated trading. That's a cautionary tale. So trading agents are powerful, but they're not for the faint of heart. They require careful design and constant oversight. The same goes for any agent that handles money. Now, let's step back and look at a bigger picture. Agents that run an entire content channel, from script to upload. You know that feeling when you're scrolling through a feed and you see a video that's just too consistent? Like, it posts every single day, at the same time, with the same quality, and you think, how does this person do it? Well, sometimes they don't. Not entirely. There's a new kind of agent that runs a whole content channel, from the first spark of an idea to the final upload. And that's not a futuristic fantasy, it's happening right now, and it's changing what it means to be a creator. Picture this: you've got a channel about, say, ancient history. You feed your agent a simple prompt: make a video about the Roman aqueducts. The agent doesn't just write a script, it does everything. First, it researches the topic, pulling facts from reputable sources, making sure it's accurate. Then it writes a script in your voice, with your style, your quirks, your pacing. It even breaks it into scenes. Next, it generates the voiceover using a synthetic voice that sounds eerily like you, or maybe you've recorded a few samples, and it clones your voice perfectly. It writes the visuals, generates images, or even B-roll, and edits the whole thing together. It adds background music, mixes the audio, and exports a final video. And then, it goes one step further. It writes the title, the description, the tags, all optimized for search, and uploads it to your channel at the optimal time for engagement. That's not a tool, that's a production team in a box. But here's the thing, this agent isn't just following a script. It's using the same loop we talked about earlier: perceive, think, act, observe. It checks the analytics after each post. It sees what your audience liked, what they skipped, what made them comment. It learns. Over time, it adjusts its content strategy. Maybe it notices that videos about engineering get more views, so it pivots. That's the power of an agent. It's not just automating a task, it's optimizing toward a goal. And the goal is set by you, the human. You're the director, the agent is the crew. You set the vision, and it handles the grind. Now, I know what you're thinking, but isn't that taking away the creativity? Not at all. It's taking away the busy work. The creative vision, the topics, the tone, the overall direction, that's still yours. The agent is there to execute, to scale, to free you up to think bigger. And that's exactly what we do at Agent Amigos. We build these systems. We've seen creators go from one video a week to one a day, without burning out. And honestly, the audience doesn't care if a human edited frame 47 or if an agent did. They care about the content, the value, the entertainment. And if you can deliver that consistently, you win. But with great power comes great responsibility. And that's what we need to talk about next, the risks and the safeguards. So we've seen agents do amazing things: research, create, trade, run channels. But they're not perfect. They can fail, and when they do, it can be costly or even dangerous. Let's talk about what can go wrong. First, there's hallucination. The language model might invent facts or sources. It might confidently state something that's completely false. This is a huge problem in research and news. Second, there's the issue of bias. The model learns from internet data, which is full of biases. It might make decisions that are unfair or discriminatory. Third, there's the risk of unintended consequences. An agent might take an action that has a negative side effect you didn't anticipate. For example, a trading agent might make a huge bet and lose everything. Fourth, there's the security risk. An agent with access to tools could be exploited by malicious actors. If it has access to your email or bank account, it could be a target. And finally, there's the issue of transparency. If an agent makes a decision, can you explain why? Sometimes the reasoning is opaque, even to the designers. So what do we do about all this? We need guardrails. We need to design agents with safety in mind from the start. That means setting clear boundaries, implementing human oversight, and building in fail-safes. Here are some concrete safeguards. First, limit the agent's access. Give it only the tools it needs, and restrict permissions. Second, require human approval for high-stakes actions. For example, before the agent sends an email or makes a trade, it asks for confirmation. Third, use logging and monitoring. Keep track of everything the agent does, and review it regularly. Fourth, implement a kill switch. A way to stop the agent immediately if something goes wrong. And finally, test extensively in a sandbox before letting it loose in the real world. We also need to think about the ethical implications. Who's responsible if an agent causes harm? The user? The developer? The company? These are tough questions, and we don't have all the answers. But we need to start the conversation. So agents are powerful, but they need to be handled with care. With the right safeguards, we can harness their power while minimizing the risks. And that's what we're trying to do at Agent Amigos. Now let's put it all together and look at the bigger picture. We've covered a lot of ground. You've seen what an agent is, how it works, and what it can do. You've also seen the risks and the safeguards. So what does the future hold? I believe we're moving towards a world where agents are as common as apps. They'll handle our emails, manage our schedules, do our research, even run our businesses. They'll be our digital assistants, but much more capable. They'll work alongside us, not just for us. But this future isn't guaranteed. It depends on how we build them. If we build them responsibly, with safety and ethics in mind, they'll be a force for good. If we're careless, they could cause harm. So it's up to us. At Agent Amigos, we're committed to building agents that are safe, transparent, and beneficial. We believe in the power of AI to augment human abilities, not replace them. And we want to share that vision with you. So here's my challenge to you. Start thinking about what you could do with an agent. What tasks could you delegate? What goals could you achieve? The possibilities are endless. And you have the knowledge to get started. So go build something. Create an agent that solves a problem you care about. And remember, you're not alone. We're here to help. Thanks for listening. Now go make something amazing. What's next? The era of AI that does. What's next? The era of AI that does. Thank you for watching Agent Amigos. If this talk sparked something in you, hit like, subscribe to Agent Amigos, and share it with one person who needs to hear it. Knowledge is better when it is shared. See you at the next talk.